When it came to building this e-bike, my whole ethos for this project was two things: simplicity and keeping it lightweight. After a lot of research and scrolling on Craigslist and Marketplace, I stumbled upon this Charge Mixer 8 that was imported from the UK. Honestly, this bike stood out to me for a couple of reasons as a great platform for this build, because it was quite unique compared to a traditional road bike. It has an internal gear hub rather than a derailleur, which I understand makes it a little bit heavier and goes against what I said earlier, but that provides less maintenance, makes it stronger against the torque of an e-bike, and overall it just looks cleaner. The frame is black and aluminum, so it's lighter and it'll help blend any wires and zip ties I have to attach, and the already existing lines aren't routed on the top tube. The bike uses disc brakes, which isn't that rare, but I needed something with good stopping power, and the lines are hydraulic. When it came to the tires, nothing special here. I just ended up upgrading them from 32C to all-terrain 35C tires. But yeah, an overall unique bike which checked all of my boxes, and as a personal preference, it also came with flat bars, which I like more. The e-bike kit I decided to go with was the CYC X1 Stealth Gen 3 and their A52 battery to pair with it. They both shipped from Hong Kong, and the battery showed up first. Surprisingly quickly, actually, less than 2 weeks after I placed the order. Opening up the box for the battery, the very first thing that you're greeted with is the inspection report, which honestly is a really nice touch. I feel like whenever I order something online, I don't really get an inspection report anymore. I'm not going to go over the details, but everything was marked okay, so it was all good. Feel free to pause the video and take a deeper look at the inspection report. But yeah, nice touch. I like that it had the inspection report. Under the protective foam was the battery and all of the accessories that came with it. Starting with the battery, very, very nice feel to it. It feels secure, it feels good quality. It just feels great to touch. One side of the battery has the keyhole that locks it to the mounting bracket that it's already attached to right now, and the other side has a charger port, a USB-C in to charge stuff using the battery, and a button to power it on. The small bag on the left side came with some hose clamps to secure the battery to your bike, and some keys for actually locking and unlocking it from the frame. The other clear plastic bag came with more mounting options, including some zip ties, some Velcro, and some bolts. Finally, the white box just ended up having the charger in it. Also, just like the battery, very nice quality. Doesn't feel cheap, doesn't feel, lightweight or anything like that. Hopefully they're not just stuffing it with heavy metal or something to make it feel heavier, but it feels good. It feels good to the touch. It also came with the 3-prong cable that goes into the charger and into the wall. But it's just a charger. I don't know what else to say about it. Good quality though. The motor took a little longer to arrive. I think it was a total of about 5.5 weeks after I ordered it, but still, not as bad as I was expecting. That's pretty good. 5.5 weeks really isn't that much time. What I didn't expect, though, was an additional $70 charge by UPS for taxes once it made it to the US. I was a little frustrated with this, but then I remembered the tariff negotiations with China that were going on when I ordered this, so guess that makes sense. Regardless, I was happy that it was finally in my hands. Once you open it up, the first thing you saw was a little diagram of the X1 Stealth Gen 3 showing its features, its options, and just a quick start guide about scanning the QR code for the actual guide because, they don't just give it to you anymore. Warranty registration card, pretty straightforward. Also a QR code because they don't want to just give you that anymore. And then a little diagram showing how to connect some of the cables. This one I think goes for the display. You can pause and read more into detail, or, yet again, scan the QR code. Taking the top cover off, we see some of the accessories that come with the motor, and the first thing we're going to check out are these crank arms, which really impressed with the quality. Nice and metal, they have a good weight to them, they don't feel cheap at all. I was a bit afraid of having to use these arms because I'm pretty sure you have to with this motor, so that was a relief. The next thing was the grips. It came with a pack of two, one dummy, just regular grip, and the other one was the actual throttle. I opted for the half throttle. You have a choice between a thumb throttle and a full throttle. I like the half because it kind of, I want it to feel like a motorcycle, but I also want a regular grip when I'm just pedaling. These were decent quality. I wouldn't say the greatest, but not bad either. Then there were two more pieces. These were kind of like a faux bottom bracket. They would just go where the bottom bracket was and slide in there. Also quality. Nothing special about these though, just literally a piece of metal gear. At least it's metal, that's what matters. But of course, the most important part, revealed under this top layer of accessories, was the motor. To the side of the motor, there's this little white box, and inside of that white box was the screen. Nice and small, it's just what I wanted. You have an option for another screen, but I chose to go with this one just to keep with my kind of sleek theme. We'll see how it performs once I actually plug it in, but I was pretty happy with it. And then to the right side, there was a plastic bag with a bunch of other accessories. I'm just going to rapid fire these accessories, but it came with a speed sensor that you would attach to the rear wheel of your bike, a wiring harness that would attach the throttle and the screen to your motor, some assembly lube that you'd use for that little bottom bracket insert piece and other various moving parts, some screws to hold the actual motor up, and some like soft pads so it doesn't scratch your frame, an assortment of zip ties, which I really appreciated this one. Actually came in very handy. Some shims, depending on the size of your bottom bracket. A keychain, which was a nice little touch. I actually liked this. It's cool to keep it on the key for your battery lock. A magnet, which was the second side of the speed sensor equation. And a label that claimed it was 250 watts. Isn't that sweet? Going back to the box, we finally get to the motor itself, which, wow. What an honestly great piece of engineering. It's just really impressive. It's a little heavy, but not so heavy. You can see I'm holding up with one hand. And the fact that it's just so small and compact. You have the actual motor in the front, the controller on the bottom of it. All the wires are nice and tucked. The chain feels good. You can see it's got the battery connector and the connector for that wiring harness that I showed earlier. Just overall, a really, really nice motor. Alright, well, I have no idea what I'm doing, so we're just gonna try stuff and see if it comes off. Well, that's a good sign. The problem was that I had this little cap up top, but I actually had to remove it in order to extract it properly. And that's because for the cranks there are two type of bolts that hold it in, and I had this smaller one. So just had to remove that cap. Oh. It was reverse threaded. It was reverse threaded, of course. Nice. That went relatively smooth. I'm glad I had this genius idea to hang the bike up like that, so it just made it a lot easier to work on. I was really hoping I didn't have to unlink the chain from the master link or do anything like that. Thankfully, I did not. So now I got this all ready for the motor. These are the parts that came off. So this piece that threads in there. These are the bolts that went into the cranks, and the cranks are over there. One of these parts was reverse threaded, so kind of had an oopsie where I really tightened it, but I don't really see any significant damage, so I'm not too worried about it. With the motor being finished, I finally moved on to mounting the battery. I wanted it in an untraditional location, so I ended up asking AI to design me a drill guide to 3D print for the frame after giving it some dimensions. Isn't that wild that you can do that nowadays? This tool was a huge help. Got these all nice and squared and lined up. I made them small just to be safe. I don't want to drill too big of a hole. So if I need to make it bigger, I'll make it bigger. But for now, we'll just leave it at that size. But yeah, should be able to mount the battery over there now. Perfect. Perfect. The battery came out perfectly, just how I envisioned it, but totally forgot about wiring. To connect the battery to the motor, I don't have enough length. So I have to order a 1-foot extension cable, but in the meanwhile, I'm just going to remove from this mount it to either one of these, just so I could test it out and make sure everything's good. The kit came with like hose clamps and zip ties, so I'm definitely gonna secure it just to be extra safe so this whole heavy battery doesn't fall out. But obviously I'm not gonna set that up yet because I'm gonna move the battery down here. Once I order that extension and put it back up here, then I'll permanently secure this mount. Whew. I want to put it right here, but the handlebar is too thick, so looks like I have to put it here. It's not a big deal though. Nothing to shift here, so the shifter's on that side. And that was it. I just plugged in my battery, let it charge, and waited for the extension cable to arrive. So it's been a couple days. because I had to order this extension wire. And now that it came in, I plugged it in. And it's good. It's all looking good, ready to go. I ended up getting a new chain and new pedals as well. I was gonna reuse the old chain. I had to take a link out and stuff, but then it was pretty crusty and old, so I figured I'd get a new chain. And the bike shop I went to, I had them just throw it on too, because why the hell not, right? So got the chain, got these pedals, got this extension, plugged the battery in. I had a bit of a scare though, because I plugged everything in, I pressed the power button up top here, and it wasn't lighting up, and nothing was working. So I triple checked all my wiring, everything seemed good, tried again. Turns out there's a little button on the battery here. You wanna make sure that's pushed in to turn it on. So you gotta turn the battery on before you can power the whole unit on. There's also a lock on this side for the battery. I thought maybe it'd be like lock sensitive somehow if it's unlocked and won't turn on. Doesn't matter, I tested it with this side powered on. Didn't make a difference. But yeah, we're pretty much ready to rip. Currently we're on race mode 0, so nothing happens if I twist the throttle. This little M button here changes the modes here: power, RPM, temp, controller temp, bunch of different settings here: trip distance, trip time, motor power, RPM, like I said. It's pretty cool. And then there's some arrow keys here. It changes from race 1, 2, 3, down to 0. I know there's an app too. I haven't downloaded that yet, but I'll need to just to see if there's any additional settings on there. Actually, I know there are additional settings on there. I know you can like really fine tune stuff. You don't need it to use this motor, but it's a good idea to just download it once to kind of tune things up, and then, you know, you can delete it after that. But yeah, you put on race 1, a little bit of throttle. Wants to go. Okay. Gonna zip tie this on just so it's extra secure. Zip tie all these wires up, and then we'll take it for a spin. Gorgeous day for the ride, and man, I am in love with this thing. It surpassed what I envisioned, but there's a couple things about it that I noticed as I started riding. So first off, this display. Oh, camera's kind of messing with it right now, but you don't need the nicer display. I think this display has everything that it needs. In the last clip, I kind of showed off everything it shows. I have no complaints with it. I think it being small and sleek like this is honestly a benefit. That bigger display that's offered by CYC, I don't see why it's worth it. One thing I noticed is that the battery indicator, it's pretty incorrect. It'll show you, like, it'll fluctuate. You'll have all 4 like little bars in the battery there, but it'll just jump down to 1, even though you have plenty of space left, and sometimes it'll even be flashing. In my experience, it can go all the way down to 37.5 volts with this 52 volt battery, and that's where it dies. And I think that's about like 20 miles of range that I got on this setup, and that's a mixture of full throttle and pedal. Now, full throttle and pedal, that's the other thing I feel like is important about this. If you're looking to get something that's just pure throttle, this will do it, but don't expect super long range. You'll get probably like 10, 12, 15 miles, which is still decent for full throttle. I do a mixture, you know, I'll do only throttle and then pedal, but it's definitely like a hybrid setup in that way where you have to give it both, right? You can't just only be throttling all the time, you got to give it pedal too, but that's fine with me. It's a little bit of exercise with it too, so not a big deal. Another thing in this setup, I feel like the gearing is just a little wrong. You know, it's 8 speed and I'll be an 1/8
already going about like 15, not like 50, like 17, 18 miles an hour, and the pedals, they're not doing anything anymore. I'm trying to pedal, but my legs are just moving so fast, and it just wants to keep going. And the fastest I was able to get on a straight line with this was 38 miles an hour, which is ridiculous. And that's you can't even pedal close to that, especially since you're already moving so fast in top gear at 17, 18 miles an hour. So something to keep in mind. Probably want to swap maybe the chainring, or try to set it up for gearing to be a little, I forgot if the term's higher or lower, but that to keep in mind too. I've also noticed I've had a couple little pops, little creaks, little noises coming out. I think it may be because of my chain is just a bit too tight, but it's just a reminder that, you know, this is a powerful motor. This one is 1500 watts, and it's just not something that you want to just full throttle it off the line, right? Because you're just going to shatter your bike. A bicycle is not made to handle that much torque from the beginning, so be cautious of it. You know, kind of ease into throttle, and then you could really start moving once you get up to speed. All in all, though, I'm very, very happy. It's great. I think the CYC Stealth is a fantastic motor. It's nice and small, so it's just great and compact, and it's light. I can move it around, take it on the train with me perfectly fine. I have no issues. I think the Pro is a little overkill if you're going to just be street riding it like this. I'm sure there's applications for it when you're really off-roading and stuff, but I don't know. I think the Stealth does a great job. I mean, I can go 38 miles an hour on this. Do you really need to go faster? I feel like if I got a Pro, this frame would explode at that point. Don't expect it, like I mentioned earlier, to just be some like straight E motorcycle when you throw this kit on. Yes, it's quick. Yes, there's a throttle, but you have to pedal too. It's that kind of setup where you're kind of sharing it both ways, right? You're pedaling and you're throttling, so it's great. Anyways, thank you for following along. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. Maybe I'll try to do a couple more things with this. Take care.